I know how to increase the conversion by 30%, thinks the head of the sales department. But not all managers can master. Some seem disinterested. This script doesn't work. We conduct meetings sweetly. We need to push harder. And you can hear a lot more in the sales department, but we are here to ensure there is more money in the cash register. In this video, you will receive not just opinions, but clear instructions on techniques for your sales department that will help expand your sales funnel. At what stage? Let's think about it together now. You will hear exactly what to stop doing. That is, how to avoid them. Hear clear examples of phrases and specific sales techniques. If there's any fluff, feel free to roast me in the comments. Previously, or in some companies, currently, the sales script consists of a greeting asking a few questions to understand the situation, needs, and pain points. Next, the manager goes into talking about the company, the presentation of the solution, and after that, our favorite, work with objections. Or to everyone I know, and I will think about it, consult. Does it work? Yes, but within the conversion you have now. This script is used by almost everyone, and it is already outdated. It is not effective because it involves overcoming objections. That is, we create objections, an inaccurate presentation, and this is because we have not sufficiently identified the need or do not know the product well enough. And we didn't identify the quality need because the client didn't tell us everything. And that's because they don't trust us yet. And the circle closes and we keep going around it. I have something new for you. And if you don't want to spend time watching this video, leave a request and I will call you to demonstrate a way of closing deals that neither you nor your manager have seen before. How can I surprise you? If I can't, close this video. If you haven't closed yet, then returning to the script, the sales script, that is the method everyone uses to sell, is the main limitation to increasing conversion. The solution is to remove the presentation and usual arguments from the conversation and turn these steps into a sequence of truly interesting questions which, when answered, allow the client to piece together the puzzle of your product in their mind. Coaching? No. Coaching is when a person comes to their own conclusion, not yours. And we are talking about sales. Of course, you want to sell your product. Yes, it's like a weapon. Although it resembles coaching a bit, it's interesting coaching. I can prove it on a live call. That is, I will personally call your uninterested client, and you will see the result. What needs to be done before the product presentation. Some tips, the twist of need and motive that drives the client. These are a few tips you might know, but maybe not. So check yourself. What is important for the client? This is an open-ended question, so sometimes the client doesn't know exactly what we want to hear. To increase conversion, it's not enough to be aware of this step. You need to know exactly how to execute it. It's like in sports, in boxing. We know when and how to hit the opponent. Or humor. You know that humor is good, but not everyone can always make a timely joke. Therefore, it is not enough to just try to identify the need. Asking the right questions is important. Next, after identifying what is important to the client, it is crucial to determine why it is important to them. In other words, the level of reasons, the level of beliefs. But sometimes it's hard to directly ask why this product, why is this important? Why did you leave a request? These questions do not help to identify the main motive of the client, but only provide superficial information. For example, one of the working formulas is as follows. Is this important to you because the old product no longer works as well? Or is there a desire to save on electricity supply? Or why? Tell me more. That is, provide possible response options and identify which of these options is the client's motive. Next, after you receive the answers, it often happens that the answers to the questions, such as what is important or why it is important to you, are abstract. Therefore, it is necessary to specify. The client sends signals, and the salesperson has to decode them. It's like in diplomacy and international negotiations. If you don't see and hear the signal in time, there is a risk of losing the negotiation. This is a common mistake when a client asks something specific, and instead of giving a clear answer, we start explaining how we work and what the stages of the process are. It's like the answer to the client's question lies in an uncertain future when the client buys your product I have a question for you. And how well do you and your managers know the product to talk about its hidden advantages before the client buys? When should you do the presentation in the conversation? After all these aforementioned questions, you can, but there is a risk of getting "I'll think about it" or another objection. And why is that? Because you shouldn't say things that carry risk. Instead, take, for example, one advantage or feature of your product and frame it as a question to determine how well it can satisfy a specific need you have previously identified. The client will then tell you to what extent this will help them. If it's not 10 out of 10, continue this step until it is 10 out of 10. But don't be a robot trying to guess by mindlessly going through everything you know, like, will this help you this much, or maybe this much, or perhaps this. What is more interesting to a person than their motive? It is what motivates and drives them to take any action. A motive is not a need. Don't confuse them. Right now, you are watching this video. What is your motive? It's one thing to need to learn something, to find something interesting. And why do you need this? This is one of your motives. When you appeal to a person's motive every time, they have no choice but to talk more about themselves and reveal their motive. An uninterested client is an unmotivated client. And an unmotivated client is one whose motive you do not know. And why don't you know? Because you didn't discover it. And why didn't you discover it? Because you didn't ask correctly. And why incorrectly? Because you didn't know how to ask properly. This is the key element in increasing the conversion of the sales department. Not just to know and guess, but to clearly identify what exactly motivates so that you hear it from the client and not make assumptions. If you think I haven't told you anything new, then ask yourself, remember that client who bought a lot. Did they clearly tell you their motive? And was it genuine, not just socially desirable? And how did you check that the client is not trying to save face and maintain their image, and therefore did not tell you what really concerns them? Make sure the client talks more than you, so they open up, bringing out their desires, values, and even things they sometimes hide from themselves. If this doesn't happen, then the issue lies either with you or the client. Therefore, for this to happen, every phrase from the salesperson must be a truly interesting question that increases motivation. Based on this, the manager may have objections because many questions feel like a survey. And nobody likes that. If all of this doesn't sound innovative to you, or if you have a different specificity, then message me privately. In the format of a free consultation, I will create clearer questions for you and show you live how it works to engage your uninterested clients. I will preliminarily study your product if it is interesting. This is not a joke. And 99% of the time, it will already be better than what we have now. Of course, it might seem like I think I'm the smartest, but I'm speaking from experience. And it's not enough to just show that it works great. It also needs to be taught. There are tools for this as well. So let's finalize. What is the client's motive? What is the difference between motives and needs? Why does this difference matter? A need is something a person wants to have or achieve. For example, learning something, buying a car, or a home. Motive is the reason why a person wants to do something. The question why helps to clarify this. For example, why does a person want to study at this particular place? Why this specific car? Why this apartment? Why with us? Why now? Check yourself. What do you often talk about the features and characteristics of the product? Convince with case studies or find that exact reason, that exact motive, when the client will say, this is it. I now understand why exactly this. However, sometimes we might avoid this question because the client might answer just like that or doesn't have a particular reason. And that's not all, my pretties. In a few days, I will publish the second part of this video about increasing conversions. So if you really need this, subscribe to the channel and let your protégés grow.